Wukusu, peace, black power, and welcome to Harlem Liberation School's YouTube channel. Harlem Liberation School is a black nationalist, Pan-African community organization based in Harlem. We provide relevant and credible political education to help black people wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Brother Malcolm X. To do this, we provide panel discussions, political commentary, mini documentaries, leadership tips, classes, and interviews with some of our most dedicated and effective leaders, activists, and intellectuals around the world.
Still 1966, black still. Young cats calling it twins, black still. Definition ride or die, black still. Yeah, boy, we doing it live, black still. 1966, black still. Young cats calling it twins, we black still. Definition ride or die, black still. Yeah, boy, we doing it live. The greatest threat to walk the yard of the streets. Call me Matula Shakur, Rochelle McGee. I'm still representing the Angola 3. A resurrected field marshal of the BBB. I refuse to lose or be held in the cell. I ride with James Doc, Holiday, and WL. Nolan, Howard Tolan, all of Georgia's cadre. Steve Asimu Brownie and Chili Red from the Yang with James McClain. And Luis Delamontes, Lawrence Black, Justice Tuwasi, and Willie Tate. See, shoot y'all lace me, guitar erased me. Paul Rhett and Poncho from Quentin made me. Following the steps of Bill Christmas and Pennywell. From Soledad to Attica, we can't be jailed. I'm made to keep silent. Shackles on our brains. I command like the Mad Monk. Freddie Payne, a true soldier like Lumumba. And free the drum go. See me with Mamiya, a brother Yogi Ukito. Sunni IDG. And comrades on the street represent BG family. Black Steel 1966, Black Steel. Young cats calling it twins, Black Steel. Definition ride or die, Black Steel. Yeah, boy, we doing it live, Black Steel 1966, Black Steel. Young cats calling it twins, we Black Steel. Definition ride or die, Black Steel. Yeah, boy, we doing it live. Soledad, San Quentin, Folsom to Attica, all around the world, more prisons than schools, y'all. What? Right, just look out for Brother Kamasi. Lace me.
Can you see me, Brother Bomani?
Yeah, I can see you. You know what I'm saying? I don't see you now though.
This is weird. Hold on, hold on, family that are watching. Having a little bit of a glitch here. We're gonna get it together. There's a little bit of a glitch. This is weird what's happening right here. Are we right next to each other, Bomani? Do you see us both on the screen?
No, I don't see you, brother, at all.
You don't see me. Huh. Oh, that's crazy. All right, hold on. Sorry, y'all. A little bit of a technical glitch. Gonna try to figure it out. You see us both now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Pardon the delay, family. Welcome to Harlem Liberation School, where we teach black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. This is our monthly Black political prisoner report where we have my good brother Bomani, Shakur, and myself that really are trying to, bring important issues concerning our political prisoners to the forefront. Often this is not an issue that receives the attention it deserves. And that's really the purpose of this particular broadcast. As you know, or may not know, those of you who were here yesterday, we had to stop temporarily because, weather, man, we can't control the weather, right? So Brother Bomani got knocked out because of the storm, his Wi Fi, so he couldn't come back on. He called me and told me the situation, so we planned it again for today. So if you came on yesterday, you're going to have to bear with us a little bit for a little bit of redundancy. We're going to do the whole show over, the whole broadcast, all the questions, and knock it out that way. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming through. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And with that said, we are going to begin. Brother Bomani, how are you doing, good brother?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, brother?
Everything's blessed, man. Everything's blessed. I'm glad to have you back. Um, and I'm going to jump right into it. The first thing is black people hear this term Black August all the time. Sometimes people use it to get views on YouTube. Sometimes people use it to sell mattresses and all types of stuff. We want to give people, we want to set the record straight. So could you provide for us an overview of the origins and the history of Black August?
Okay. Yes, I can do that. The first thing I would like to say, I would like to say, send a ways to God Shalomu, Black Oak salutations, to all the comrade behind enemy lines, all the people that partaking and practicing Black August as well and moving forward. The origin of Black August itself, it take place in March 1978 in San Quentin State Prison on the yard, where various brothers met on the yard and established what they term as the Black August Planning Committee. And the Black August Planning Committee was to discuss Black August. Now, unfortunately, one of the chief architects of the Black August Planning Committee returned to the ancestors on the medical left. So the following year, 1979, in the month of August, during Ramadan, they created Black August. Black August was created as as what the brother termed at that time as a decade of resistance. The decade of resistance at that time period was from 1970 to 1979 when Black August started. And due to the different events that occurred in regard to the losing Conrad from 1970 all the way to 1979, it became known as Black August. And the whole intention purpose of Black August was to create create a create a create a revolutionary uh, culture of strength and resistance that they wanted to see start in the prison of California and develop in the state of California and spread out throughout the nation. A culture of resistance and a revolutionary culture of strength and a revolutionary culture of strength and resistance spread throughout the nation. And today, Black August is a revolutionary culture today because it has affected the lives of many people in different organizations, different political plights, different institutions, different programs. It's also had been broadened and perspective internationally and went over to Cuba, Libya, places in Africa and other places, right? So they're basically Black August in a nutshell right there as an origin aspect of it. And I yield.
Many thanks for that, my brother Bomani. And we're going to move on. We want to first thank those that we see, at least, that are here with us on the broadcast. I do want to show some of the comments we have. Sister Veronica Garcia, 9507, says, Peace, my beautifully melanated brothers and sisters. Peace back to you, my sister. Thank you for joining us. And that's all we have right now. Those of you watching, please let us know that you're here, where you're from, you know, and how you learned about the broadcast. Let's make it a little more engaging. Thank you, Sister Veronica, for that. As we move on, Brother Bomani, to the next question. Um, we know that Black August started out uh, as a movement that came out of the prison system in California. It has since become much bigger than the state of California. It's celebrated all over, in some places all over the world. How would you say Black August has evolved over the years, and what are some of the key events or milestones associated with its history?
Okay. Well, the key milestones to put the history out there was first it was established in San Quentin. Simultaneously, in 1970, it was established in Soledad State Prison as well. And simultaneously, also that it was announced at the beginning of Black August on KPFA in Berkeley that Black August was going on. It was announced then. But also during that time period, it was a political newspaper called On the Spirit. In the On the Spirit, August 1979 edition, they highlighted Black August and they put out their official Black August statement to the public and the people. And this newspaper was circulated inside the prison as well as on the streets. And then in the beginning of the 80s, in 1980, it was a group of brothers and sisters in Oakland. They created a Black August. They created a Black August study group, and the coach started on the spread throughout California. Also in the meantime, a lot of the founders of Black August had converted to being New African Revolutionary Nationalists, so it spread through that New African Independent movement. So today we see Black August all through the college, the universities, all in the streets. You see people that are in prison that are gang members practicing, that are Crip, that are Blood, GD Vice Lords. You see people just practicing internationally, all in different parts of the Caribbean, Africa, Cuba, so forth, so on, Brazil. You see it all over the world now, and people, a lot of people are keeping to the tenets by following the concepts in which it was started by honoring political prisoners, by honoring position, by creating programs that are geared to a position like self-defense programs, educational programs. They're building institutions. People are breaking their habits. They're fasting for certain things in their life. So people are taking heed to the culture itself and practicing the tenets that was established. So I see it as a real culture that it would develop to be that actually be influencing people. Of course, we know a lot of the comrade was inspired by different events themselves. Like they were inspired like by Nat Turner, D. Viz, Gabriel Praza. They were inspired more like they were inspired by those individuals. They looked at being Black guerrilla freedom fighters. They were inspired by those individuals who made those sacrifices themselves. And what is the comrade that made this sacrifice up in the Black August martyrs to actually present Black August to the public and to the people and push it as a revolutionary culture? And I yield.
Now, when would you, if you were to give a timeline, what is the main event or series of specific events that started Black August? Who are some of the main people we think about that are associated with what we now refer to as Black August too?
Okay. In 1978, like I was stating earlier, in March 1978 on the San Quentin Yard, right? It was individuals like Jeffrey Qatar the Golden, people like Suja Graham, people like Michael Murdoch, people like Paul Jones, PJ, people like Fela, people like Fatiera. Those individuals in the yard, they began to discuss Black August in regards to honor their fallen comrades, such as the American Courthouse Rebellion, Conrad George, and other individuals. Started talking about an individual. Then in 1979, but 1978, we lost Jeffrey Qatar Regalda. So Suja Graham, which is basically like a closer comrade, he basically initiated the thing and pushed it forward along with Paul Jones and other individuals. They pushed it forward and created Black August, and that's when it started. But simultaneously, they were talking to sisters on the street as well and brothers on the street as well. So to let them know that once they launch it, they're gonna launch it on the street also simultaneously at the same time. So it just won't be no prison thing, right? People in the streets will be aware of it, and that's gave birth to it. People on the streets that they were putting the work in with sisters like Kisifu, was not known as people like Sister Kisifu. Some know as Mama Ayana, brother like Shaka Thinen, You know, those are the people on the street pushing the line in regard to pushing the thing. You know, to the place where it's at now. Especially all the brothers and sisters that were pushing the Black August study groups in Oakland. You know, at the beginning of Black August, you know, they were pushing that aspect of things. Not to mention that you had people from the New African Independent Movement, like basically from the Arab People Party, the House of Emoji, that became known as New African People Organization. They were pushing Black August as well. So it was being pushed on various aspects. And not to mention in the early 80s, a lot of people that was in uh, prison organization like the Bloodline, United Blood Nation, Solid Crew Organization, Blue Note Crew Organization, Coom, and so forth, so on, that they were practicing Black August as well. So you had people that were street organizations, street gang members that were practicing Black August as well. So those are some of the things and some of the people that they're pushing the line in regard to Black August. And of course, it was chaired by the Black August Organizing Committee, what was created to actually conduct all the rules, the tenet, laws, and concepts of the Black Organizing Committee. It was created to do so, but it was founded by the Black Guerrilla family and the predecessor in California. And I yield.
Thank you for that, my brother. Now, it seems like many people associate Black August with one individual in particular that always stands out, and that's Brother George Jackson. Could you explain to us a little bit about him and why he is so pivotal to what we refer to as Black August, and maybe even give us a few more names that we should know more about that don't get as much attention that relate to Black August as well.
Okay. Well, George Jackson represented a type of stand-up brother. He represented a revolutionary individual, right? Just like doing his memorial when he was when he returned to the answer doing his memorial, he new stated that everybody should be like George Jackson. Everybody should be like George Jackson, right? George Jackson was a model of a strong new African brother, resistant, resilient, committed, dedicated to and sacrificed himself for the people. So George Jackson said in his book, "Blood in My Eye." I mean, not blood in my eye. He said in Solid Brother, he said, "I met the Black Guerrillas." And that was in 1960. The individuals he was talking about were individuals in the predecessors that were doing the work. People like W.L. Nolan, Big Jake Lewis, Tony Gibson, you know, all these brothers, Death Row Jeff, these brothers in the prison that they were organizing, they were doing the work, that they were keeping brothers safe from racial attacks, from being raped. They would make sure brother had canteen and food and so forth, so on, right? So Comrade George rose up to leadership within the prison movement and started making sure that their brothers learned self-defense, their brother learned their history, learned African languages. He know many languages himself. He taught himself Bachelor Kung Fu. He taught himself political education. He taught a lot of brothers how to read and write, especially Chloe Comrade. Name James Carter, known the Jackal. So Comrade George became the epitome of the resistance of the prison movement that were going on during that time period, all the resistance of the Black Liberation movement going on at that time period. So he basically became the leader of the California Black prison movement. So he was highlighted during Black August. It was say the 10-year resistance from 1970 to 1979, where he was assassinated in 1971. Now, in Black August, it started from resistance. You know, it was all about resistance. It's all about the people who resisted. And the ones who resisted with knife or gun in the hand were known as the Black August Martyrs. Now, the Black August Martyrs are 8 different people. Now, they consist of different dates. Like we term them flea dates, which is first liberation expedition to Africa, or first liberation expeditionary New Africans. You know, and those days are 24-hour fasts that are dedicated to these brothers who made the ultimate sacrifice with patience, which was their life. Now, on August the 1st, now I'm gonna take it back like this. Okay, I'm gonna say 1970 first, right? 1970, January 13, 1970, right? On the yard of Soledad, right? On the yard of Soledad. You know, three brothers was on the yard. You had W. Nolan, who also basically like a Jegna and mentor to Conrad George. He basically educated him, and then Conrad George just transited beyond the education, become the leader of his own right. You know, the student became the teacher. Okay, and W. Nolan, Alvin Sweet, Joe, Mary Cleveland Edwards on the yard. They was engaged into a warfare with the Aryan Brotherhood. Of course, the brothers were winning, and the pigs saw that, so they killed a lot of brothers, and they wounded one of the Aryan brothers. That was January 13, 1970. And that day is honored on August the 13th, during Black August. Okay. So on August the 7th, 1970, Johnny Jackson, the man child, Conrad George Jackson's younger brother, went into the Marion County courthouse and demanded freedom to free the solid brother, free the brother. So in the courtroom, he armed William Christmas, James McClain, Rochelle McGee. And they took care with the judges, and the DA took care of hostage. Demanded freedom of solid brother. So a shootout occurred, and everybody got killed except Rochelle McGee. So August the 7th, it honors the man child, Johnny Jackson, William McClain. William Christmas, James McClain. Okay, now you got August. Now you got August the 21st. August 21st, 1971. Conrad George Jackson within the Jessamine Channel in San Quentin. They say he made an escape. He organized the brothers there. So it turned to a form of resistance where various guards were killed and murdered. So Conrad George made a sacrifice and let them kill him because he didn't want them to kill nobody else. So the assassination occurred August 21st, 1971. Then those are 7 martyrs. The last and 8th martyr was Jeffrey Katari Gordon, who took over the prison movement at that time period as leadership. So on August 1st, 1978, on the yard while he playing football, he suffered a head injury. And instead of the pigs taking him to the hospital, they played games, and they didn't have the material to help him in the infirmary and everything. So he played around games until then the hours passed by till they eventually took to the hospital. He was already dead when he got there. So those are the 8 martyrs. Those are the 8 martyrs known as Black August Memorial or Black August Martyrs. Now, whereas the Black August Resistance, like I said, the resistance was already taking place since we came to these shores of North America, right? Since the 1500s all the way up. We had people like Delmar Visa, Gabriel Praza, Mark Delaney, other individuals that were resisting and fighting the oppression during those time periods, right? So the Black August Resistance were already taking place by our resistance spirit. And due to the fact that the old brothers that I named, the 8 martyrs, died being resistant, the Black August Resistance became a proponent of Black August. So Black August itself is a culture of resistance and strength that's geared toward strengthening our people through a revolutionary culture, so we can be independent, have our own businesses, have our own establishment, have our own military, protect ourselves, our own government, so forth, so on, right? So those individuals make up Black August Memorial, and they also make up the Black August Resistance. Well, Black August itself is a whole month of resistance that is 31 days from August 1st to August 31st. Whereas we understand that some hardliners, they instead of fast 31 days, they fast 40 days, which commemorate that goes all the way to September 9th, which is the beginning of Attic Rebellion. So they pay homage and respect to them, and they fast 40 days, to pay the respect to the Attic Rebellion. They were also linked in with the California prison system because the Attica Manifesto comes from the Folsom Manifesto, and the brothers who created Folsom Manifesto were close Conrad as Conrad George. So all that ties in regard to the resistance, right, within itself. And Black August Resistance is from September the 3rd to July the 31st, which make it 365 days a year, 360 days a year on the elite year. So Black August Resistance is all year round. All year round, people are exercising, training, people are studying, people are fighting, people are fasting, people are resisting. People create institutions, create programs, create businesses. People are ridding themselves of bad habits year round because, like I stated earlier, it's a revolutionary culture. It's a way of life, And I yield. Can't hear you, brother.
Now I was saying that my computer was doing something crazy just now. Thank you for your response to the question. Want to shout out my queen, Sister Brenda. She says greetings. She's greeting all the people. She's giving you Wakusu greetings, which you know Wakusu's acronym for Wake Up, Clean Up, Stand Up. We have Sister Veronica Garcia is saying, "Long live the man child," known as George Jackson, endearingly referred to his young brother as Jonathan Jackson. And she's also recommending Soledad Brothers, the two books, Soledad Brothers and Blood in My Eye, as must reads for all revolutionaries. We want to make sure we get those comments in. Very important. Also, on the bottom, you see scrolling, it's encouraging all the brothers and sisters, especially our Black men, our new African men, to get that book, The Wise OG Manhood Code. We got to get back on code, brothers. Some of us are acting like we lost our very minds, and it doesn't help us. It's hurting us. We got to get back on code. Now, with that said, Brother Bomani, you know, people who aren't as close to Black August, its history, the activism around it, see that as, oh, that was the brothers it locked up. They had an uprising, and that's what it's about. And they kind of have a way of kind of narrowing its scope and kind of keeping it as that's the brothers that were in prison. Could you educate us to how it may have started there, but it's much larger than just what's going on in prison, and that we all should be interested in it and participate in it? Could you please enlighten us on that?
Okay. Well, Black August is it transforms. It's a transformation, right? Now, what we could take for instance, Comrade George Jackson, right? Comrade George Jackson went into prison system as a criminal mind. And once he became politicized and educated, he became a freedom fighter. He became destined and determined to make a better conditions, not only for himself, but for the people. He made better conditions in the prison system, whereas now, brothers like him who fought for prison rights, now people in prison, they can have TVs. Now people in prison can have canteen. They can have medical. They can have everything that he actually fought for. But the transformation mind state that he created within himself, transfer from revolutionary mentality to transfer a criminal mentality to a revolutionary mentality, or to a new African mentality, to a new man, a new woman, is a mentality that's never ending, right? Like for instance, like also we look at Malcolm X at that same transition. He went to prison criminal and came out, a revolutionary mind state, and when he came out, he was able to put in work and contribute to the uplifting of our people by creating programs, creating institutions, creating businesses, and also having a good life for him and his family as well. So Black August is a transformation, the transformation process, right? When you transform your mind state from the enemy culture to the enemy culture to a revolutionary culture, but through transfer culture, you make a condition better for yourself. You're no longer thinking that okay, we understand oppression, but you're no longer thinking that you can't fight against oppression. Now you have a tool to fight against oppression. If you're talking about miseducation, you can create schools. You create absent learning centers. You can create institutions. You can create a homeschooling, absent homeschooling corporation. You can create a community center. You can create libraries. If we talking about mass incarceration, we can make people aware of the laws, the concepts of how prison affect us. If we talking about food, we can create farms, we create gardens, we create agriculture. Black August itself and the transformation is a re-Africanization process. Put it in the right state of mind state so we can be able to make our own decision by tapping into our African mind state, like further liberation in Africa, which is a place, the destination of your mind. We can put ourselves in that aspect of being that African individual through re-Africanization process, though. So now that we are holistic and we're communalistic, now we understand the aspect that we are no longer individual, that we all can eat together. We all can live together. We all can grow together. We can have our own. We control our own politics. We control our own food source, food sovereignty. We can have our own schools, our own education system. We can have our own military. We can have our own government. We can have our own businesses. You know, so we have our own electricity, our own power. We can have our own clothing, our own water source. It basically doing for ourselves and benefiting ourselves, as well as keeping the money circulate within our environment so we can excel and advance like all the ancient civilizations of the past, such as Egypt, Kemet, the Ashanti Empire, so forth, so on, right? This in our DNA to be successful. It's in our DNA to be genius, to be architects, to be master builders, so forth, so on, right? So Black August teach you to resist against the enemy code. They teach you to resist against misinformation. Like they tell us Columbus discovered America. We know that's a bunch of BS, but they teach you to resist against that. It teaches you to resist. It teaches you to love ourselves, to honor ourselves, to respect ourselves, to respect our elders, respect our children, respect our women. It teaches you to be productive in society. It teaches you to create our own society. It teaches you to take accountability. It teaches us to combat all the issues of racism, fascism, imperialism, so forth, so on, right? So it teaches us this is an ongoing process, a life process, you know, because of revolutionary culture. There's a culture that affects us politically, socially, culturally, economically, and militarily, as well as spiritually, because it's spirit of resistance. I hope to answer your question, brother. Now, yeah.
Yes, sir. You answered it very well. Thank you. I'm curious to know now. You discussed this, but those you watching, this is a lot of material. When we talk about Black August, it's a lot of material. So occasionally, I'm going to tease out something that our brother Bomani says to give it a little bit more specificity and clarity, so you don't miss it. Black History Month is often seen as celebratory. The first nurse, and the first doctor, the first, that type of thing. We have a lot of other celebratory events that are more commemorative. From my understanding, and please help clarify it for me and the viewers, Black August is distinct in the fact that this is not we looking back and just talking about what people did back in the day. That there's a mandate for people now to be doing things. Now you addressed this, but I want to tease that out more. What are some of the common activities or practices that we are calling upon our people to participate in during this month of August as part of Black August?
Okay. Well, some of the things we ask people to do is to study, to study more about African history, new African history, about people that look like you. You know, especially studying the ones who fought back, like Demar Visa, Gabriel Praza, Charles Lones, Harriet Tubman, so forth, Shakur, so forth, so on, right? But also not just study those aspects, but study things that will be beneficial, like study learn how to create your own business. Study things that study how to create a garden, create a farm. Study how study to learn things how to create a homeschool. Learn about opportunity education. Study things that will benefit not only to you but to your people as well. Now, those are things to study. Then you got aspects of training. Training is aspects of working out, jogging, martial arts, self-defense. Learn how to defend yourself. Learn how to get your body stronger. Learn how to get your mind stronger. Those are things of training. But basically going out into the wood, learn how to survive. Learn how to survive all different elements of things in the wood, like different plants, and learn how to clean water, clean urine. Learn how to use your bug out bag. You know what I'm saying? Go camping, things of that nature, right? That are training. The thing like you fasting. You can fast off food. You can fast off watching TV. You can fast off shopping with the oppressor, or shopping with the Europeans or the oppressor. You can fast on certain thoughts. You can fast off social media. You can fast off watching all these celebrities and TV things of nature. Because doing Black August, it's encouraged for people to watch documentaries. It's encouraged for you to watch documentaries about our history, our story. They encourage you to watch movies that talk about our story, like things like Spook Sat by the Door, The Great Comeback. You know, the things, movies like move like Good by Uncle Tom, so forth, so on. It's encouraged that you do these things. It's also encouraged that even before Black August happened, you stockpile on food, you stockpile on water, stockpile on medical supplies, so forth, so on. But it's encouraged all year round to be able to prepare yourself for natural disasters, such as a food shortage. Especially if you got plants in the inside, you grow on your own plants, you got plants in the inside, you got a good community garden, or so forth, so on, right? Those things are encouraged during that time. It's also encouraged that if you go to a restaurant, to go to new African-owned restaurants. If you buying books, to get new African bookstores. If you're buying clothes, to get clothes created by new Africans, so forth, so on. Those things are encouraged to keep the new African economic within our community, but also to uplift and encourage businesses. You know, those are some things that encourage. Then you have the fighting aspect. You know, you can fight by doing everything. You can fight by helping a political prisoner get legal assistance, by developing a legal strategy, a legal team. You can write political prisoners, ask what they need. You can fight by helping change certain laws for people. You can fight by standing on principle within your own community, within your own family neighborhood, to make the condition better for yourself. So those are some of the things, you know what I'm saying? We train, we fast, we fight, you know, and we steady. Those are basically like tenets of the Black August, in which we practice around the world by people that actually being practitioners of being involved in Black August. Of course, there are different ways you can do those different things, but as well, like you have different so say for instance, you have a program, and the program is teaching self-defense to the children in the community. They're doing Black August resistance. Or you have a program where you teach people how to turn soil and dirt and have food sovereignty. They're Black August resistance. Or so you having a program where you're teaching people how to teaching people about the aspect of the 13th Amendment, how the 13th Amendment has a clause that states that upon mass incarceration, being incarcerated, being against a criminal act, or being confined and being guilty of a criminal act, you go to prison as a slave. Things like that, you know, those are different programs you engage into doing Black August. Or you started a business doing Black August, a business that benefits to the people. So there are different ways and modes that you can do certain things in regard to educating yourself on different levels in regard to the resistance. You know, yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, given that this is closely tied to the purpose of our broadcast, Black political prisoners, could you tell us, because I see you often, I see some of your posts, you standing with different elders, revolutionaries in the community that were political prisoners or that advocate for political prisoners. For those who don't know, what is a political prisoner? Those of y'all who watch this broadcast every month know the answers to this. What's a political prisoner? And why should we be concerned with and advocate for our political prisoners?
Okay. A political prisoner is an individual that has been incarcerated for his or her political beliefs, affiliations, works, you know, and studies. But that also can occur within the inside, like Comrade George. Comrade George became a political prisoner while in the inside for political works, deeds, ideology, and talents as well. So it basically a person that is persecuted because they have a political ideology that is contrary to the ideology of Americanism. Like Malcolm X said, Americanism means dollarism. So that means capitalism. When a person is geared towards self-determination in any kind of way, form, or fashion, they can be considered a political prisoner. Their political acts, especially if they belong to a political organization or a political movement, like the Black Liberation Movement, or the Black Power Movement, the New African Independent Movement, or the Pan International Movement, so forth, so on, right? And these political prisoners are individuals that have made their sacrifices to make changes, not only in their family and in their community, but to make changes with the society in general, to make changes so that we can fight oppression, so that we can resist oppression, so that we resist this modern day slavery they call the prison system, 13th Amendment. So the political prisoners, a lot of them are individuals that are elderly now. Some of them been in prison 40, 50 years. So they're elderly, they're sick, they got diseases, they got health conditions. And these brothers, as well as sisters, need our aid and assistance just to keep themselves together. A lot of brothers had language in the aspect of controlled management units, in the SHU program. Well, now they got to restrict their housing unit now instead of the SHU, but they are revamped in California. And these brothers are subjected to 24-hour lockdown because a lot of times during their 1 day, their 1 hour rec, they don't give it to them. So these brothers subjected to the psychological, physical, emotional abuse, deprivation of light, deprivation of human touch, so forth, so on, basically driving them insane. And once they come out of these conditions, a lot of them have mental conditions such as schizophrenia, post-traumatic slave disorder, so forth and so on, right? So these brothers need our assistance, and what the sisters need our assistance in regard to being being there to cope and deal with these issues. A lot of these brothers deal with these issues by coming together and creating think tank, like in California, they created a new African think tank in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? They created a new African think tank. One of the brothers created was a brother named Tatawa Jama Natamba. He also what a spearhead and a spokesperson for the new African Revolutionary Nationalists, and spokesperson for what we term today as that occurred today. Actually, off of the 12th night 2012, the agreement to end hostilities was an agreement that started by the new Africans that were created initially by Abdul Shakur, who's also new African political prisoner that were created to stop essentially gang wars, to stop essentially crimes and deaths in the prison system, as an agreement that went out to the streets as well to affect the people on the streets. They called it agreement to end hostilities. And Elder Satawa was one architect of the new African think tank, which he got the brothers together to study different concepts, to study different concepts and ideas from Dr. Francis Wilson, Frantz Fanon, Sheikh Anthony Diop, and so forth, so on, to study ideas that come to a state of sanity within themselves so that they can escape this physical bondage that they were in, and also create program institutions that were geared toward the people. Some program institutions they created and developed out of that aspect was the WNO, the mentorship program, the Georgia University, Time and Information Structure, Nasada Let Network, so forth, so on. These programs were created for these think tanks in the California prison system by these brothers who were locked down 24 hours a day in the SHU program, in the security housing unit, locked down due to the fact that of their political beliefs. They've been new Revolutionary Nationalists by being resistant toward the prison culture. Because when you get political in the prison system, you had the influence to educate other brothers as well as sisters, depending on yet, because sisters educating too as well, to fight against the system of recidivism and not come back to this system and fuel the bigger business in the world, which is mass incarceration, and submit to the aspect of the 13th Amendment. And I yield.
You know, something I think about a lot, Brother Bomani, are all of the brothers that I know personally and some I know of who are in the streets, we doing what we do in the streets, those type of activities, and went to prison for those activities. And in the prison system is where they got politicized and radicalized. What does it say, as you see it, what does it say about the country we live in, that so many of particularly our men, are getting their political consciousness not in school, in the neighborhood, right, in the homes as much, but so many who are getting it in the prison system? What do you think that says about the country we live in?
Simple. The thing to say simple is that it says Malcolm X stated the best. He said America means slavery. America means prison. Okay. Now when we look at that aspect of things. We look at the American academic system. The American academic system doesn't tell us anything about ourselves. It doesn't tell us it doesn't teach us self-love. It doesn't teach us self-determination. It doesn't teach us self-independence. It don't tell us anything about ourselves. It doesn't teach us how to be productive in society. It doesn't teach us how to create business. It teaches only to be an aspect. It teaches only to be a commodity for white terror domination. We turn white supremacy. It teaches to be a victim of this. It teaches us to have low self-esteem, low confidence. It teaches you to be ignorant. It doesn't teach anything about yourself that you love. So this whole culture, this whole American culture, American academic culture, it criminalizes us because it doesn't teach us how to make money. It doesn't teach us how to be businesses. A lot of our people right now to this day can't even read and write. And it teaches us these things. It, like Ralph Ellison said, it built invisible man, invisible woman, right? Society doesn't. We live in a society that doesn't recognize us, doesn't acknowledge us, that doesn't think that we are great, doesn't want us to think that we're great, doesn't want us to think that we are powerful, or doesn't want us to think that we are created, that we are intelligent, that we are brilliant. So when you're doing all that, the school to prison pipeline being created as a young age, so once a person goes out to society who doesn't have this American academic major education, that he or she cannot get jobs, he or she cannot get that decent housing, he or she cannot get a decent food, so forth, so on. So the only result is, due to a low intelligence level, that they commit criminal acts, and these criminal acts is just an extension of the first act of rebellious that doesn't act of rebellion, like Comrade George say. Being a criminal is a form of rebellion. That's some of the first acts of rebellion that we see within our new African community, because due to the fact that we've been conditioned and programmed to think and act a certain way. So the prison that's a slave company just an extension of what one term the convict lease system, which is an extension of the slavery system. So the convict lease system was created as an extension of the slavery system, so that the prisoners can be basically like sold out to other prisoners. Say when you get locked up in Florida, they can send you to New York to do work and labor. It basically was a slave system. And this same system, a convict lease system, it still exists today, because prisoners today still doing works and jobs. Some of them doing it for nothing, some of them doing it for a little bit more money business. So the whole mindset is that America is designed for, like it was initially designed during the Revolutionary War, for the rich white men. Even the white women are slaves to the system, because they didn't have the rights to eat it until they came to the women's suffrage movement and the feminists and so forth and so on. But it's designed for the powerful rich white man to control and manipulate everything. Pollute everything, from the food, the clothing, the shelter, so forth and so on, right? So if you think about it realistically, right, if we're not teaching our people our own revolutionary culture like Black August, and teaching our people to have our own opportunity education school system, to have our own self-defense apparatus, to have our own thing, that have our own culture, that have our own social identity, so forth, so on, to have our own name for ourselves, and name ourselves, we're going to continue to perpetuate that same system, because we ignorant. We just going to use that human capital, and victims of oppression of the military industrial complex and the prison double slave complex. We're going to be victims to that. And that's why a lot of brothers, when they go to prison, they become educated, because they find out they have more time, and they have more, and they get an aspect and attention that the more time and space they have, it directly in front of them to get their education. Whereas if we were pushing more to education on the streets, a lot of our brothers and sisters would never be locked up from the jump. And because they understand that we're in a revolutionary culture. And our culture here resist everything, resist their miseducation, resist they BS politics, resist they weak sociology, resist their weak psychology, to resist they weak religion and spiritual ideas, to resist their way of making family, to resist all these things, to be communal people, to understand that we come from a mentality that we are built up on a village mentality. Everything's a family. It take a village to raise a child. We might go back to that mentality of being communal people. I understand who exactly we are, our own greatest achievement and accomplishment. And I yield.
Man, you said a lot there, my brother. And one of the things that really stood out was when you said if we were teaching our people proper political education, they wouldn't be in the prisons anyway. I really hope when even when this broadcast is over that people chew on that for a minute and think about. So education is not just you get a good job. You know, a lot of us we say, oh, you gotta get a degree or go here and get a good job. And certainly we want to have funds to take care of our families and stuff. But education is also preventative medicine. The proper knowledge can actually prevent you from doing something that will injure yourself and injure your family and put your family in a bind because you're not there and you're now detached. And it's funny because you think back on the slave plantation and the lynching that occurred of black men and women. But I don't know if people understand that prison, particularly when they give you a life sentence, or particularly when they lock you up in segregated housing forever and you can barely go outside, get sunlight or see any human being or anything, is like a new form of lynching, particularly when they put you on death row and kill you, right? Isn't it? What's your thoughts on that, brother Bomani? That kind of that relationship between the raw, brutal ways they used to deal with us in the past and the prison system. What's the connection that you see?
Okay. I'm gonna take for instance, right? I was just I'm pushing the freedom campaign, the campaign to free Agyei by Shakur. Now he came parole last month on July the 16th, which is actually the birthday of Mama Sada Shakur. Okay, and during this parole hearing, their main emphasis was that, oh brother, you're not a part of the politics anymore. We need you to snitch. We need you to snitch. We want you to write a 15-page debrief letter. You feel like you're resisting not following the rule because you don't want to write this snitch letter and so forth, so on, right? We've been asking you to snitch for the last 5 years. You ain't did it yet. So what's up, brother? You know, why you tell us this and that and all this other stuff? Okay. So the brother been out almost in there 50 years old. So we think about those things like their policy had been at one time, and still is to this day, is snitch, debrief, or basically die in prison for your political beliefs. And we had witnessed that. We had witnessed it with different individuals that had died behind enemy lines, such as Imam Jamil Amin. We had witnessed that people that came home and died, such as Rochelle McGee, such as Russell Maroon Schultz, such as Dr. Matula Secure. We don't witness this. We don't witness brother like Paul Red who came on and transition. Brothers like Mata Musa that came home and transit. We don't witness this. Brothers being in their 40, 50 years that transition, they make these brothers weak. Conrad Joseph never can't remind the broken men. Brothers like Abdul Lugabar Shakir represent the spirit of resistance. He refused to be broken. He refused to snitch. He refused, you know what I'm saying, to reveal anything about his past previous affiliations or associations. He refused to do any of that. So he refused to be broken. So all this stuff tried to gear toward to break the brother. You know, even though he's an elderly person, he turned 64 years. He turned 64 years old, coming up real soon. So that whole aspect of this system, they lynch you behind enemy lines. You know, they put you in the deprivation camps, concentration camps. What they are, they deprive you or they deprive a man of a connection with a woman, feminine touch. They deny you access to quality food. They feed you garbage. They deny you the aspect to be successful in your life. To get these degrees that people talk about, the talent, the 10th, or the own these houses and ownership of these things, or to raise a family, you're away from your loved one. So how can you raise a family while you're in prison? How can you even populate even generate children while you behind enemy lines if you're not getting conjugal vision or being married? How can you even do these things? So it's not only a physical deprivation, it's a spiritual and emotional deprivation as well that actually kills individuals, because a lot of individuals go in there and being all the time, they can handle the time, they might not get out, they start doing drugs, or they become so violent that they force their oppressor to kill them or force somebody else to kill them. They become suicidal within themselves or homicidal within themselves. So we got to think about these things in regard to, or to develop mental psychosis or neurosis. We got to think about these things in regard to when we see people on the street, or when we see elders, or when we see people that are older, what condition they've been through, or we even when we talk to younger people, to be able to educate them and enlighten them about that. Oh no, brother, you don't have to go in prison to transfer your mentality. You're gonna have to go in prison to get politically educated. You don't have to go in prison to find yourself an African name or find yourself a rename. So you had to go to prison to do none of that. You got to do that. Oh, sister, you don't have to you don't have to steal to make a business, sister. Sister, you don't have to steal clothes, sister. You know how to make clothes. You know how to do hair. You know how to do this, so you can do those things. We got to be encouraged to our people. We got to let them know and let them know to recognize and understand their own talented trades and fortes, and elevate with them. And like Dr. John Clark say, whatever you do better, do it for the people and be a servant leader for your people's society. And change the social climate, not only within yourself, but in your family, in your community, your neighborhood as well. And I yield.
Thank you for that, brother Bomani. Family, we want to thank you all who've been with us from the beginning. Those who you came in a little later, want to thank you. Yesterday we tried and we kept it. We kept that video on the channel because we covered some good stuff. We had good conversation. We came back today for kind of a part two, but it's really kind of a part one too. We're redoing the show. We want to thank you for coming out, supporting HarlemLSchool, showing love to our brother Bomani, man. Every time you come out and you support and you're commenting and you're subscribing, you're sending a message to the guests. In this case, our brother Bomani, to say, yo, we see you, we value you. All the hours you spent studying, all the hours you spent community organizing, all those elders that you've been supporting and bringing attention around. That's very important. And I want to say this. So I want to thank you for that, brother Bomani, and for really helping us to really understand Black August and all it represents. Are there any specific organizations that the people should know about to get more information about Black August? You mentioned an organizing committee and some stuff like that.
Okay. Organization like Black Organizing Committee, George Jackson University, Autonomy Infrastructure Mission, California Prison Focus. Those are some of the WNO Dementia. Those are some of the organizations to study and look out for during Black August. The well as certain organizations that support political prison, like Jericho Amnesty, Not Even Political Prison Coalition, Annika Black Cross Federation. Those are some of the organizations you need to look into and gain a different understanding. New York People Organization, Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, the New African Independence Movement. It is so many to name. It's so many names. If anything, learn more about mass incarceration and how it affects the society. So how mass incarceration is the biggest business on the planet Earth, was a multi-billionaire corporation, and how all these different businesses and corporations engage into invest into it to continue the aspect of slavery. Continue that, that's a bad thing, man. That's a bad thing, and people need to be aware of these things and how it affect them. How a lot of things that people have come from prisoners, such as tires and certain milks and juices we have in the schools, in the different schools and education and juvenile systems, so forth, so on. How certain people have tags on the back of their car that come from prisons, and how certain meats and produce come out of the prison system, man, how they affect us. When we think about things that from their free labor, how some people, how a lot of the city councilmen and city councilwomen, and a lot of their corporation, like how a lot of these business and invest into mass incarceration by having free labor from their prison and so forth. So we need to look into those things and how they affect our people, and also how it affect the mind state of children and the youth, or how they look at being prisoner as a rites of passage, which is not. That's not a rites of passage. It's not a rites of passage being a man or a woman going to prison. That doesn't make you tough. Doesn't make you strong. Doesn't make anything. It makes you a victim to society that geared toward oppression of the new African people. Don't be no fool. Educate yourself. Do better. I also like to say that it's various events happen around the nation, right? If you're in California, this week, August the 15th in Oakland, it's a national New African summit taking place. They're gonna be orchestrated by the Black Organizing Committee in Oakland. It's gonna take place in August the 15th. And I also be remiss to say that also during the time, I'm gonna say this: Black August started in 1979, right? But Black Heritage Month started in 1980 with the Garveyites. So I like to say that as well because lot of our Garveyite brothers have been practitioners of Black August as well, from the conception of it. In fact, I know historically a lot of Georgia University Black August event, we had a lot of Garveyites on the East Coast in Baltimore and Maryland participating in our Black August event. Brothers like Baba Singo Baye, which is the good comrade. He like one of the ones who orchestrated the Black Heritage Month during her presidency of the other UNIA. So those are things to think about. And the Black Heritage Month also with them showed resistance as well, because Garvey showed resistance. He created UNIA. He brought to manifestation the government of UNIA. He brought in manifestation the aspect of the red, black, and green as a flag of resistance, and a liberation flag. He talked about having our own government, our own military, our own army, on condition, on politics, so forth, so on. And those are things are in alignment. Those are things are in alignment with Black August, with the resistance. So I like to say that. And I like to salute everybody who been listening to their broadcast, and salute everybody who doing Black August events all around the globe, from California to New York, from Chicago to Georgia, from Florida, from Brazil, from Haiti to Cuba, wherever you may be on the planet Earth. If you commemorate Black August, I salute you. If you commemorate resisting all year round, I salute you. If you educate yourself, I salute you. If you better yourself, I salute you. Now, yeah, free the land, west to go Salamo. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Brother Bomani. We're coming to a close, family. I would like to end on a fitting note, given that there's so much disunity, clickism, I'm better than you, people having different titles, calling themselves different things, people not getting along, people not wanting to form alliances and coalitions and say, man, let's put all of that stuff aside and let's fight together, man. Right? I want to read this quote from George Jackson. Wow. It also demonstrates what a powerful writer he was, how he developed himself in prison. He didn't just sit around farting around, wasting his time. He took that time and sharpened himself. Listen to his words. Settle your quarrels. Come together. Understand the reality of our situation. Understand that fascism is already here, that people are already dying who could be saved, that generations more will live poor, butchered, half lives if you fail to act. Do what must be done. Discover your humanity and your love in revolution. Whoa, that's Comrade George Jackson with powerful writing. And his words he wrote then stand. Stand. We got to come together, pick your lane, resist in the way you resist, as Brother Bomani told us. There's many ways to resist. And don't get mad. Don't get even. Get to work. Get to work, brothers and sisters. That's the answer. It's the only answer that will put you in a better position, protect your family, address your adversaries, and solve problems. Anything else is a waste of your time. Don't get caught up in anything else. Get to work. That's what we need. I think the scripture says the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. That means there's a lot of work to do, but when we looking around, we don't see enough people doing it, right? So that's what we got to do. Free the land by any means necessary. Wakusa, Black Power. I want to just make sure I have somebody here that says free the land. Yes. Thank you for joining us. Sister Veronica Garcia was ringing out tonight. The beautiful Queen Brenda was had a lot to say as well. And there was there's a brother I missed. I wanted to give him Brother James, wanted to give people acknowledgement before we leave. And I think those are the only people I see. I might have missed somebody. Brother John Hill. All of you, thank you for joining us. Let's come together, family. Let's settle our quarrels. You could never possibly be as mad with a black man or woman as you should be with the enemy who took us from our motherland. Come on, like we get real funny with that. You mad with each other. You better be real mad at the people that got you locked up, got you coming at you for taxes. What are we paying taxes for, right? We supposed to be getting reparations. The nerve coming to drag us into the armies. Like we really gotta really think, get our priorities straight. Brother George said it better than I ever could, family. With that said, peace and black power, free the land. Thank you, Brother Bomani. We see y'all next time, second Tuesday of the month, when we do this Black Political Prisoner Report with Brother Bomani Shakur. Thank y'all, family. Peace.
Peace. Black Power resistance.